Now, as I said at the top of the program, we're going to focus this week on the devastating impact of Hurricane Matthew on our state and our schools. We visited Robeson County and Lumberton Junior High School this past week, where we sat down with Robeson School Superintendent Tommy Lowry and West Lumberton Elementary School Principal Tara Bullard. Take a look. Education Matters went to Robeson County this week to talk about Hurricane Matthew and the impact of the floods on the schools. Robeson County was one of the hardest hit areas in North Carolina, and the school system was the last one to completely open this week, but still dealing with a lot of issues. We're joined today by the superintendent of Robeson County Schools, Tommy Lowry. We also have with us Tara Bullard. Tara is the principal of West Lumberton Elementary School, which has actually been relocated to Lumberton Junior High School, which is where we're filming today. Superintendent Lowry, tell me a little bit about as the flood waters were rising. You obviously left the district office on Friday afternoon knowing something was going to happen, but no one really saw what we ended up having to deal with here in Robeson County.
Like I said, we first got a call Saturday morning. We did go to command center here in Lumberton to determine if how bad the damage was. At that point, not only just for the schools, but for the whole county. Later on that afternoon and that Sunday morning is when we realized that we were going to have a lot of flooding. We were having, the waters were rising, and of course at that time, we were doing everything we can, first of all, to help with those folks that were evacuated, using our buses to help those folks to get to shelters. On Tuesday, we called the principals when we felt like it was safe for them to get out, to be able to get out to their schools and assess. At that time, we could not get into the central office, and we could not get into West Lumberton. We tried to go in with boats, and they stopped us because the water was just too fast for us to go in, even with boats at that time.
Right, and you're, of course, you're dealing with, you've got all the schools, you've got, 23,000 students, so you have families, but you've got teachers and principals who are also dealing with their own homes. How do you sort of communicate, and how do you make those decisions on who can help and who needs help?
Well, basically what we did is that we, contact the principals, and we just tell them, if it's safe for you to get out and check things at your school, do that, and whenever it's safe for you, whether it's a day or 2 days. And most of our principals were able to get out and move around. We had a lot of road damage, and it was very difficult for some of the principals to get out to their schools because they don't necessarily live in the same district that their principals at.
Right, Tara, what did you see? Obviously you were experiencing and knowing what was going on. What was happening at your school, and how did you assess the impact?
Well, we were not able to access that part of Lumberton until Saturday, so almost a week had gone by before we were able to actually get in the building.
Completely cut off?
Yes, completely cut off, and I literally live like 6 minutes away from the school. So, it was really difficult to know that I couldn't get to the school to assess any damages.
Right. And now once you're to the point you're assessing damage, which was at least for a week or more, the school system was closed for 3 weeks. How do you determine, what needs to be done first? And how do you get kids back to school when you did?
Well, one of the first things we did, I decided that we needed 3 departments to come back to work. After we were receiving calls from our principals about damages and so forth. The first department was, of course, our maintenance department, and then our finance department, and then, of course, technology. Those were the 3 departments that I called in first. We got those in so we could start working on the damages and trying to assess the schools that we could get into and make sure that we started work on what we need to do there. Of course, our central office was flooded, and we went in there on boats to assess the damage there because the water still hadn't receded yet.
Right. So what was the worst damage that you saw? I mean, was it just the actual structural damage from the flood waters?
Probably so. There was just so much devastation. When you go into a building and you see everything just upside down, just totally destroyed, completely wet, soaked, it's pretty tough to go into those areas and try to, clean up when there's already, things already starting to develop on those materials.
Well, Tara, let's talk about the human impact a little bit. Elementary school, we're talking about the babies. What's been going on with their families and with them? You and your teachers have been in touch with them.
Yeah, I started a list actually the Monday after the hurricane hit that Saturday, we started just trying to contact parents through Facebook, telephones, any way that we knew, to possibly contact parents just to make sure everybody was okay. So we started that list, and then I continued having teachers call just to kind of keep track of where people were located. Had several of my staff members who volunteered at shelters for several weeks until kids got back to school. And it's still, we're still every day, we're learning something new. We've had a lot of kids who have obviously been displaced. A lot of our families, actually the majority of our families have been displaced. And, just with working with Mr. Tommy about trying to make sure that, we're keeping all of our kids, coming to the same place. So that was really important to us. Coming back to school, they would come back to the same faces, the same teachers, and so it's been a successful week. It's been a smooth transition. So and we're hoping that we're going to get all of our kids back soon.
Superintendent, how does the school system support the families? You're dealing with families here that many that may never be able to return, or certainly won't be returning anytime soon. How do you communicate and support the families?
Well, of course, going through our principals with our schools, because they have the contacts to be able to have teachers and everything to contact the kids, and then of course talking with the parents. We do send out Connect Ed messages across the county to try to communicate with our folks. We've tried to use the media also to help support getting information out to the students and everything, and to their parents. It's been a very difficult time for all the folks here, but on the other hand, we've had a lot of support from people within the county and outside the county. Tremendous outpour of support, whether it be materials, whether it be food, whatever it was the needs were. And of course, there were a lot of communities set up shelters, food shelters for the parents to be able to go to those shelters, and we tried to communicate with the parents where those shelters were located at so they could go and get food, clothing, or whatever they might have at those shelters.
So Tara, what's next? Looking ahead, what's normal going forward?
Well, right now I don't know what normal is going to look like. We're doing our best every day, making sure those kids come to us and that we're providing them with everything that they possibly need, whether it's book packs, supplies. We're doing a needs assessment to send home to find out what the needs of the families are. So we're taking things day by day, and we're hoping that soon that there will be some sense of normalcy. But obviously, this has impacted them for a long time.
Right. Well, thank you both for joining us today, and for the work you're doing on behalf of these kids. I mean, I know you're personally affected yourself, but like a lot of our educators, you're putting those children first, and we appreciate it. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
The school administrators and teachers and all the district staff did an outstanding job to get the schools back up and running. While normalcy is still a ways off, as you heard, for so many of these families, for many, returning to school was a huge first step. When we come back, we'll be joined by the state official who oversees public school facilities across North Carolina and a reporter who spent time in Princeville after the hurricane. As we go to break, see if you can answer this question. What was North Carolina's costliest hurricane?